Yeah, fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man Saul Jackson like Sean, Hunting like Randolph. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and this is Philly the podcast, man. So today we obviously have a very, very special guest. We have the legend himself, the Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro. Dave, how's it going, man?
Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
Can't complain. I can't complain. It's a beautiful day. Football is back, so I think we're all a little bit excited, you know. So let's just hop right into it. I know you're probably going to be a busy man coming up these next couple of days.
Oh, good. That's what I'm here for, man.
Months.
This is the fun time of the year.
Exactly. So I kind of want to ask you, because I always ask the athletes we interview, or athletes coming into the NFL, what they do to mentally prepare. 17 games is different for reporters as well. What did you do this offseason to kind of just get ready for this season?
Well, I got engaged to a woman that I'm madly in love with. That's one thing.
Congratulations. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Really happy about that. And so, you just kind of get your rest in, you prepare for what's ahead, and you really, Joe, the thing is you try to keep it very much in the now, and you don't look too far ahead, because it sounds like, it's 17 games, great, but like it's a long, long way between now and then. So I'm looking forward to just the early days of training camp, see what this team's all about, see what Nick Sirianni's all about, see what kind of practices he runs, how animated, how involved, how person-to-person he is on the football field. And then, of course, as we'll talk about here, I'm looking at every single position on this football team.
No, did I lose you for a second? I think we might have lost him for a second. Little technical difficulties real quick. We're just checking. Hold on, he might have to come back in.
Is that my Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I got you back now.
Was that me or you?
That might have been me. I'm not sure. It froze on my side.
Let's start it all over.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
But yeah, no, I mean, we'll hop right into it. So obviously this is your second time on the show. We spoke earlier in the offseason, even with Brandon and everybody. So you gave your predictions, kind of what you were thinking going into the draft and everything. I want to ask, like, looking back now, hindsight is 2020. How right do you think you were? Was it unpredictable? How did you think about this offseason?
Well, I really didn't think wide receiver first round. I thought it would be a cornerback in the first round. I'm generally not in favor of wide receivers in round one. I think that you can find them later in the draft. And I understand why the Eagles traded up for Devontae. He's so talented, and there was a big drop off after him. But once those top two cornerbacks went off the board, I kind of felt, well, the Eagles were either going to stay put or move back later into the draft. And I think they had opportunities to do so in that Justin Fields deal. They could have gone back and taken the Chicago Bears deal and gotten some extra picks. And so I feel like I wasn't particularly on, because I didn't think wide receiver. But after watching Devontae Smith, I am happy with the Eagles. And I think the Eagles did a nice job in free agency with a lot of one-year deals. They kind of made the offense a bit better here with wide receiver. They made the defense a whole lot better with Ryan Kerrigan, with Steven Nelson, with Eric Wilson, with Anthony Harris, which I find to be a really interesting mix of new players coming in with a new defensive coordinator to a group of holdover veterans. So, it's Joe, I can't sit here and tell you that I know what to expect from this team. They haven't been in pads. They've only been on the field for 4 weeks. There's so much unknown here that I think that's what kind of makes it so exciting. Not only every day at the NovaCare complex, but our two public practices on August 8th and August 22nd at Lincoln Financial Field that all of you should be going to, because it's going to be a great time just to get a sense of what Nick's all about on the practice field and get a good look at Jalen Hurts and these young Eagles on offense.
Definitely. It's going to be a great time. So, this offseason has been kind of crazy. It's been a lot of rumors, a lot of doubt from, media and everything. I want to kind of know, do you think this team is going to thrive off that? Talking to these newer players and everything, do you think that it's putting a chip on this team's shoulder? Do you think they feel better than the media is giving them credit for?
I don't think the media ever has any say in the thing. I mean, look, the Eagles should be motivated by being 4-11-1 last year. It was a terrible season, and there are a lot of players coming back from injury. I think that's motivation. What the media says, who cares? Sometimes you can use that as a chip, yes. And if the Eagles do that, great. But you don't really, if you rely on that stuff, it's really not the best formula for success. I just look at this team and say, okay, the offensive line comes back intact. I like that a lot because they were injury ravaged last year. And I think they have a chance to be very, very good this year. And if you have a good offensive line, that really helps a young quarterback, a running game that wants to get going, young wide receivers. I think the defensive line has a chance to be really good if Brandon Graham has a lot of gas left, if Fletcher Cox plays at the top of his game. And so that'll make the back end of the defense, which has so many question marks, much better. But, I mean, Joe, look, the Eagles have a fourth-place schedule. They play in the NFC East, where there hasn't been a repeat winner since 2003, 2004, when the Eagles did it. And I think every season begins with a lot of optimism. It's a different vibe around NovaCare. Nick and his staff are young. They're energetic. They're going to learn. They're going to make mistakes. That's part of it. But I look at every season very optimistically. And so that's the approach. Okay, tough early schedule. But I think the Eagles, again, relying on the line of scrimmage, have a chance to be right there every week.
Definitely. Yeah. And like you said, we have a tough early schedule. So we're able to kind of answer some of these questions maybe early. We get to see who some of these guys are. Now, you did bring up the back end of the defense and the questions there. Hopefully, Eagles fans I know feel like we might have answered a question back there, signing Steven Nelson. I wanted to know, do you think this kind of drawn out? Did they know this was going to happen? Because I feel like with Steven Nelson, there was a lot of, social media clues, if you will, I guess. Do you think the Eagles kind of had this up their sleeve, or was this kind of spur of the moment?
I would say no. I think they've been working on Steven for many, many months. And it's a matter of, look, a team that doesn't have a lot of cap space is waiting, negotiating chicken or the egg. Somebody else going to make a move for Steven Nelson. They didn't. So the Eagles were able to get him at their price. And early on, when Steven was initially released by the Steelers, the thought was that he was going to get another big free agent contract. Eagles can't be in that game. So, it worked out for the Eagles' favor. Now, I think Steven's a solid, not Pro Bowl level necessarily. Could be, but in his career, he's demonstrated he's a solid cornerback, which is much better than they've had. And it'll allow them to bring along the likes of Zach McPherson and some of these young cornerbacks without throwing them in there when they're not ready. Definitely. There'll be some competition. Steven's not going to just walk in and take the job necessarily, but his body of work suggests that he is the leading candidate to be the starter opposite Darius Slay, with Avonte Maddox moving inside, and that just looks a whole lot better than it did 4 or 5 days ago. So I'm excited that Steven Nelson's here. I think he fills a very, very obvious need. And this defense, look, the thing about free agency, Joe, is we're all excited about Steven Nelson, but he was also out there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and nobody else signed him. Ryan Kerrigan was out there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and nobody signed him. So in free agency, one team's trash, if you will, is another team's treasure. And in this case, the Eagles didn't make long-term investments. So how quickly can everybody get on the same page and play good defense for Jonathan Gannon?
Definitely. Now, this is something I've been asking a lot of people because, in my opinion, like you said, you talked about Zach McPherson, and you think about Michael Jacquet. These guys kind of get a real rookie year. You're not just thrown into the fire. So, in your opinion, who do you think, or what position group, or maybe coaching staff member, who wins from this, signing the most?
Jonathan Gannon wins the most because the first-time defensive coordinator doesn't want to go on the field in game 1 against the Atlanta Falcons, in game 2 against the 49ers. Then you've got the Cowboys, the Chiefs. You got a lot of firepower coming at you early in the season with only one really proven outside cornerback. And I think Jonathan we haven't seen his defense in pads. Talking to him, hearing what the players have to say about him, I think he's a head coach in the making. And so for him to go in with some stability, some experience at both cornerback spots on the outside, That's huge, because if you don't have the cornerbacks, you really can't run your games up front. He wants to pressure the quarterback. He wants to blitz. I know Jim Schwartz got a lot of heat for not blitzing, but there were so many injuries in the secondary that he really wasn't able to blitz a lot. And Jonathan now has some, real credibility with Slay, with Nelson, with Maddox, with Anthony Harris at one safety spot, with Rodney McLeod at the other safety spot, with Andrew Adams, a veteran who comes in as a backup and adds depth at safety. So there's some numbers there that work in Jonathan Gannon's favor. And I really want to see what his scheme is all about. And you can't run the scheme if you don't have the players. And Steven Nelson really upgrades what was an extremely weak area for the Eagles.
Definitely. Now, going back a little bit, this is a little bit off tangent of what I wanted to ask, but you brought up something and it made me think of it. You say with Jonathan Gannon, you think he's going to be a head coach soon. We go back, obviously, to 2017. We look at the Frank Reich situation. Do you think that there's a Frank Reich type guy on this offensive staff? A guy that we might end up losing because he's that, valuable?
Well, Joe, I mean, it's tough. Like Shane Steichen did a great job with Justin Herbert last year, didn't he, in LA? Now, obviously, your coordinators are the first ones to get the tickets out of town. So if the Eagles with Jalen Hurts or Joe Flacco or whoever the quarterback is can put up big numbers, then Shane Steichen's going to benefit from that. But I don't know enough about, Aaron Moorhead at wide receiver and Jamal Singleton at running backs. And, Stout, obviously, I know a whole lot about. Too early to tell, but obviously the leading contender would be Steichen. And then we'll see what Kevin Petula does, passing game coordinator. How creative does he get and in his designs with the passing game? Every team is looking for a young, rising star in the coaching staff that they can hire as their head coach. I would say Shane is probably the leading candidate right now, but let's keep that between us, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. I might have to edit this part out.
Let's give Nick Sirianni a chance with this coaching staff to build something that's sustainable. Flash in the pans, one-year wonders, don't want to see them. Want to see something that Andy Reid built. And while that first year in 1999 with Andy was not, it was not indicative of what was to come, it was still a foundation. And to me, 2021 is about the foundation for the Philadelphia Eagles. With Nick, with the quarterback, with the coaching staff, building for the future. Let's see how they do.
Definitely. I agree 100%. Now, and like you said, I might have to edit that part out so we're not giving out no free cookies, no free, no free gems.
Because you know what? Everybody watches, every team watches everything. So there's no secret.
Exactly. Yeah, they're just doing their intel, on the enemy. Now, you did bring up Ryan Kerrigan, and we did have him on the show. He's an awesome guy. Excited to have him on the field. I think Eagles fans, it's a big conversation of what the expectation is of him. Obviously he's later in his career and everything, still able to be productive. What do you think the real expectation of Ryan Kerrigan should be? Should we expect a starter or just kind of a leader in the locker room?
I would tell you something along the lines of Chris Long, who was not a starter, but he played a lot and he made a lot of big plays. Was a leader, and so Kerrigan, who's been terrorizing the Eagles for the last, is now on our side. And if he still has that burst, that power, if he can transfer from speed to power like he did so many times against the Eagles, then that's a huge addition. Because I think I think Jonathan Gannon wants to bring pressure off the edge in addition to the four players with their hands in the dirt. And so Kerrigan, his ability to stand up and collapse the pocket, play with so much aggressiveness and tenacity, can only mean good things for the rest of this defense. And remember, the Eagles have a lot of young players, even though we're talking about the newcomers, along with Fletch and with Brandon Graham, a lot of young kids on this defense that they really have to develop. Because I think, Joe, the one thing that's really been missing here is that young developmental star for the Philadelphia Eagles. We just haven't seen that in the last few years.
Definitely. I'm excited to see him, even if it's 15 games. He's just a leader. He's just doing minimal stuff. But for 2 games, and those games obviously being Washington, go let him off the leash and just let him go crazy. Because
I don't think Ryan Kerrigan's here to take 15 games of just leisure time. He's a really intense dude, and he brings it. So I think that's the kind of attitude. This defense needs to be more physical, much nastier than it's been. And I think Kerrigan's he's a prototype for what the Eagles want to be.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited for him. Now, another piece of big news that just came out is obviously Landon Dickerson, who also got engaged, I believe, this offseason. He just got signed. So just how did that happen? Why did it take so long? Is that something to be concerned about? Or, now that it's done, it's done.
Honestly, there's really no concerns. I mean, coming into camp, Zach Ertz is going to be there. All the draft picks are signed. New coaching staff in place. That's minimal drama. I mean, I've been around long enough to know real drama when there's holdouts all over the place. Landon's just business. You've got to work in a lot of things, given his injury situation. So maybe that made it just a bit more complicated. But Landon is an animal. I can't even imagine him not just chomping at the bit to be out on the football field. I don't know how much he's going to practice early on. I don't know what the plan is for him. I know the Eagles don't want to rush him at all. Super talented kid. Will be a cornerstone of the offensive line for years to come, but not necessarily somebody that you need right now. But I could be wrong. I mean, they could start practice on, this week and get into pads and Landon Dickerson's out there. So, but I would be surprised if that happens. And look, I think he is somebody that you just figure out, is he better guard? Is he better center? Where is he going to play? Is there a possibility of a tackle? Let him learn things. Let him get stronger. Let him get that knee totally healthy, and then unleash him in 2022.
Definitely. Now let me ask you, now that we're kind of a couple months in, we kind of got to, digest everything and all these new rookies that we have, the new class. I'm going to say outside of Devontae Smith, because I feel like that's the easy answer, but is there a rookie in this class that you look at and you're like, I think he's going to have a big impact?
I don't do that anymore until I see them in pads. I mean, obviously Devontae was somebody you can't miss. I mean, Milton Williams will get a lot of time playing up front. All the young defensive edge rushers, no idea. Defensive tackles, no idea. I mean, I got to see them in pads first. I applaud them for what they did in college. I think it's great. But I don't – they're going into a world of men now. And so I think – I remember Troy Vincent telling me this years ago, don't ever count on rookies. And I think that's the right way to do it. If you're counting on your rookies to make a huge impact, a little dangerous. And that's why I've got Devontae Smith – just a little bit of caution. I think he's super talented. I think he's done it at Alabama. It was nobody better. Highest level of competition in college. But he's still doing it against 22-year-old kids. Now he's going to be doing it against really mature physical men and who are going to be intent on jamming him at the line of scrimmage, not letting him get into his routes. So there'll be an adjustment there. But otherwise, when the pads go on, when we see him in these joint practices, when we see him in preseason games, I'll come back on the show. I promise you, anytime you ask, and then we'll all be able to make our observations. But right now, I haven't seen him in pads against grown men, so I'm going to hold off on my predictions of how much impact they'll have in 2021.
I respect that. Now, which battle are you most looking forward to? Because I mean, there's a lot of good ones this year.
I mean, I think left tackle is really interesting with Jordan Mailata and with Andre Dillard. I mean, Mailata was really impressive last year, so I'm kind of leaning toward him. But I would, the way Dillard spoke in the spring, how hungry he was, how tough it was to be out all last year let's see how much fire he has. Let's see how much desire he has. Because I know Jordan Mailata is playing for a contract. He's a beast of a man, 360 pounds plus, and he's going to be very difficult to unseat. So I always say, left tackle is my number one. I want to see how it all shakes out with all these young wide receivers. Tons of one. I want to see if Jalen Reagor takes that next step because he was so, not as productive as everybody wanted last year. I want to see what happens with Zach Ertz, right? Like I've been asked since March, is Zach Ertz going to be around? And he's still here. I want to see how much depth the Eagles have at running back because with 17 games, you need 4 good running backs throughout the course of the season. I really, really believe that. I want to see the linebackers. I mean, this is not a group of, highly acclaimed big name players. How good are they at linebacker? And then I want to see some of the young defensive backs develop because the Eagles just have been in a situation in the last couple of years where they've needed young defensive backs to step up, and they just really haven't done that.
Definitely. Now, you did bring up Zach Ertz. I want to ask quickly because this is how I feel, and this is what I just want Eagles fans to do. Should we just move on? Is the situation a closed book? Is he an Eagle? Should we be ready for him to be in the Midnight Green this year?
I mean, he's in camp, so I think that again, he's here. You know, you're going to run 2 and 3 tight end sets with he and Richard Rodgers and with Dallas Goedert. So to me, Zach's here. Make the best of it. Talented guy. 40 catches away from establishing a franchise record for most receptions in a career. There's a legacy to be upheld here. This could all change, Joe. Should a tight end around the league get injured and somebody knocks on the Eagles' door and makes the Eagles an offer they can't refuse. But right now, in the final year of his contract, I would expect Zach to be very, very motivated coming off a bad 2020 season.
Yeah, I want to put another tight end up there. You know, I want to put a second tight end up there. So I'm hoping he stays. Now, another question I continuously get asked. I got a couple more questions for you, and we'll get you out of here. But one that continuously comes up in the chat, people are asking right now: does Howie have anything up his sleeves? In your opinion, you know, obviously you're not in his
always,
mind, but
always,
right.
Always.
So do you think that there's going to be another move? Do you think, or do
there's
you
always
think
another
this
move?
is the team?
Yeah, there's always another move.
In your opinion, what could it be? What could it be if you had an opinion?
I don't know. I don't. I'm not allowed to talk about players on other teams that are under contract with those teams. So I know exactly who you're thinking of. The players, but I can't really comment on that one. We'll see what happens legally there and what the NFL says. The news changes every day there. But yeah, Howie's always working deals and working the phones and working the roster. And I don't think anybody kids themselves thinking that this roster is complete or that this roster is a Super Bowl caliber roster. So until you're in that position, you keep working it. 2017, Eagles go out. I mean, they are ripping everybody apart. They still go out and get Jay Ajayi. So I think that's the mindset of Howie Roseman. Deals are out there to be made. And if they're good for the Philadelphia Eagles, he's going to make them.
Definitely. Now, in your mind, you know, just what do you see this team as? If you know, do you think that this is we asked this earlier as well, obviously, and I'm sure you're asked this all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
but is it building, or you think we can?
It's just hard. I don't. You never use the word rebuilding in the NFL. Retooling, transition, those are acceptable, but rebuilding suggests that you're not going to contend. And I don't see the NFC as a runaway division. The NFC East. I don't see the Cowboys or Washington or New York as a runaway team. So I think the Eagles contend. Obviously, a lot of things have to come together, Joe. A lot of pieces have to come together. We've got to find out a lot about Nick Sirianni. He's got to put Jalen Hurts or Joe Flacco, whoever it is, at the quarterback position. And I know the Eagles have not committed to Jalen Hurts because here's why. He has to go out and earn the starting job, just like all of them do. And he'll get the most reps. But if he's not playing well in practice or in the preseason games, he's not going to be the starter. So it's up to Jalen to go out and earn the job. But I feel like it's an open book with the Eagles. I can't tell you one way or the other. Although, Joe, I've been around long enough. Look, I mean, I've been through the transitions of, you know, Marion Campbell to Buddy Ryan to Rich Kotite to Ray Rhodes to Andy Reid to Chip Kelly to Doug Peterson and now to Nick Sirianni. And there's always a new energy in the building. The players are on edge because they know that they're in an uncomfortable situation. It's a new territory for them, and that makes it exciting. And I think that brings out the best in players. So, you know, let's talk soon. And after I watch some practice and see what this team's all about, I'll have a better idea. But right now, I mean, I really don't know.
No, I hear you. I'm excited, and maybe once those open practices come up, everybody can see.
Yeah, August 8th, August 22nd, Lincoln Financial Field. Really fun out with the family.
Definitely. Now, before I let you go, is there anything that the Eagles, I know the social media team's been, you know, working their butt off to put out new content and everything. So is there anything Eagles fans should be expecting from the Philadelphia Eagles that we should keep our eye out for?
Well, I mean, I would love you to all subscribe to my podcasts. There's 2 of them. Eagles Insider Podcast, which we do 3 times a week during the season. The Eagles Update, which is a very short news of the day podcast. We do that pretty much every day during the season. So that starts now. And we always appreciate your support. We love you. And let's get back to being a team that contends for big things, because certainly last year was a bummer in every way for everybody.
Definitely. Let's go out there and win a division, man. I'm hyped, man. But
I agree.
Dave, I appreciate you so much. You come on once, you're a guest. You come on twice, you're a friend. So, you know, I appreciate you so much, man. This was a lot of fun.
Anytime, Joe.
We'll definitely get back up. Everybody else, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, check in the description for a link to his podcast. But other than that, man, you guys know what it is, man.
Other than that, Eagles fly.
There we go. We are out here.
All right, man.
All right. Peace,
Thanks,
guys.